Today's service is one of the best ever, Zoom or not.
Yeah.
I would agree. Oh, unbelievable.
Rabbi Josh, do you know how long services will last tomorrow?
My favorite
The chant service. What?
my favorite question.
As long as they last.
Just wondered because somebody invited me over to their house, and I want to let them know that I'm participating in that chant service. That's
Sure.
why.
I'm hoping that it's an hour and a half, Susan, but as you saw today, my predictions aren't always accurate.
That's okay.
So welcome everybody, and if there are folks who are joining us back on YouTube, I'm glad that you are with us as well. We're going to start our Torah service shortly. Want to introduce one of our Torah service leaders, Rabbi Pamela Gottfried, if you want to say hello to folks.
Good morning, Shana, good afternoon, Shana Tova, everyone. And Rabbi, I'll wait for a signal from you when to officially start.
Yes, we're going to begin with the song. We'll probably wait 1 or 2 minutes as people are still finding us.
Perfect.
And
I
so,
just have to say that I can't see anyone. You can all see me, but I can't see you and I can't see the chat. So it's a different experience for me being here.
yes. So we're holding you with a sense of grace, and anything in the chat that feels appropriate, I'll make sure to relay. We have some great Gabayim today. Want to thank Effie Baton and Shana Cohen for stepping up, and all of you who are going to be chanting, laning from the Torah at home. Rabbi Pamela Gottfried will be following along in the Torah, and we hope to make this a meaningful experience. You see, we have a Torah cam, and thanks to Haley, we'll be able to see the Torah up close as she's being read, even though we'll be reading from different places. And Lauren, there's a question about getting a full screen. Once the announcements go away is when we'll be able to have a full screen. And that's where the Torah comes. But I'm going to invite us to get ready, and we'll begin with a song.
Chazak v'yametz lebecha, Chazak v'yametz lebecha, Chazak v'yametz lebecha, Kaveh Adonai, Kaveh Adonai. Chazak v'yametz lebecha, Chazak v'yametz lebecha, Chazak v'yametz lebecha, Kaveh Adonai, Kaveh Adonai.
Shana Tova, welcome everyone to our Rosh Hashanah Day 1 Torah service. I'm delighted to welcome so many guests who are joining us. Some of you may have been with us even this morning at virtual services. You may have been at virtual Shabbat services. And then there are many of you that I know are zooming in and following us on YouTube, and you've never been with us before. And since this is the first Zoom Torah service that on Rosh Hashanah, I want to emphasize that it's a new experience for all of us. And so I just wanted to tell you a few things that you can expect that might be different from other services you've been at. Our service leaders, Torah readers, and everyone who is having honors or aliyot to the Torah are all joining us remotely. And I'm here in the CBH sanctuary, following along in the reading of the Torah, which is a great honor. And while I will get to embrace the Torah today, I will not be able to embrace all of you online. I can neither see the chat nor your faces. So I want to encourage you to interact with each other as we do at all of our services. Go ahead and rename yourself if you haven't already with the name that you would like to be called and your pronouns. In general, if someone tries to zoom in under the name anonymous or just iPhone or iPad, we try not to let them into the waiting room because that's when Zoom bombing can happen. So please put your names there. And I want to make this invitation and encourage you, even though normally that would be like telling you to talk during the Torah service, go ahead and interact with each other on the chat and talk to each other and talk to all of us. And I encourage you to sing along at home, even though in the places where there's congregational singing, even though you will be muted, there's something about being expressive. Other people can see your faces, and that's a wonderful way for us to feel like we're together. Our service leaders and our Torah readers will be spotlighted in order to maximize the visual experience for all of you and also the singing experience. But I want you to know that there is a feeling in this space right now that we are all sheltering in peace together. One last thing, in between the aliyot, Rabbi Josh and I will be offering group blessings to groups of people that we want to honor today. This is in place of the group aliyot that we would normally have if we were together in person. I think that I covered everything unless there's something else to add. Rabbi Josh will put it in the chat. We have a lot of technical backups. So before we even start, I want to thank Agatha and Haley for being here in the room with me. Give me signals if I need them. And I would just like to invite Gay Ann to lead us as we begin our Torah service. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova, you can find the beginning of the Torah service on page 57 of your Machzor. Vayhi ben Saharon, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, Ve'afutzu Oivecha, Ve'yanusu Mesanecha, Mipenecha, Ki mitzion tetze Torah, Ki mitzion tetze Torah, Dvar Adonai, Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Lemo Yisrael, Bikdushato.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'norah Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'norah Shemo.
Gadol Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav.
Yai dai dai yai dai dai, yai dai dai yai dai dai, yai dai dai yai dai yai dai dai yai dai dai yai dai dai yai dai yai dai dai yai dai yai dai yai dai dai yai dai yai dai dai. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, olam omed, al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim, HaTorah ve'Ha'avada ve'Gemilut Chasadim.
We welcome our Gabbai Rishon, Effie Batan.
Myself. Oh, here we go. Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova, everyone. My name is Effie Batan, and it is my privilege to serve as Gabbai Rishon, a kind of guide for the Torah service today, along with Shana Cohen, who will serve as Gabbai Shani, the one who will ensure that we are reading and chanting correctly. It's a great honor to chant an Aliyah from the Torah and to utter an Aliyah blessing. We recognize many contributions and life cycle commemorations in bestowing these honors. And in addition, as Rabbi G mentioned, because we are not having group aliyot this year, the rabbis will be offering a special blessing to different groups of the community that we typically honor. Today, we're reading from the book of Genesis in the Torah, chapter 21, verses 1 through 34. And today's Torah portion is a familiar story. As a woman of 90, after many years of wishing for a child, Sarah is remembered by God, and she gives birth to Yitzchak. Yitzchak means he will laugh, so named for Sarah's laughter when God told her she would have a baby. And Sarah said, God has made joy for me. Whoever hears will rejoice over me. Her happiness is grand, and she imagines others will share in her joy, if only she too might have known how to share in another's joy. The tone shifts dramatically, however, when Sarah banishes Hagar and her son Ishmael from their home. Ishmael is Abraham's son, and when Sarah sees Ishmael making merry, Sarah tells Abraham, the son of this handmaid shall not inherit with my son, with Isaac. Although Abraham was not at ease, he sent Hagar and Ishmael away into the desert. And when they ran out of water, Hagar despaired that her son would die. And we learn that God opened her eyes and she saw a well of water. And we learn that Ishmael and Hagar survived and they lived in the desert where God was with the lad and he grew. And I just wanted to make a short kind of comments on this, because these are very short scenes, and yet they capture all the intensity and emotions of human drama. In just 10 sentences, we witness Sarah's joyful celebration transformed by her jealousy. We can only infer what happened for Sarah in that moment when she saw Ishmael making merry. We are told only of her actions. The stories and lived experiences of Sarah and Hagar are interconnected. Sarah uses Hagar to conceive a child, and Sarah believes that the child would belong to her. And they both suffer indignity and despair. Sarah in feeling little worth as long as she could not bear a child, regardless of her status and privilege. Hagar in her position as a slave who did not have a voice in whether she would bear Abraham's child. These were two women who felt helpless. The story of Sarah and Hagar, Yitzchak and Ishmael, reflects the painful consequences when social relations are perceived in terms of deprivation and competition in the context of injustice. Jealousy has many faces: competitiveness, envy, resentment, insecurity, fear, and anger. Even after she gives birth, Sarah continues to act from a position of deprivation. Joy is wonderful, and she was very happy, but for one who has been barren in terms of body, but also heart, for so long, it can be difficult to share. The fear of loss still hovers. And after all those years of her own deprivation, when she finally finds joy in her own son, Sarah turns to deprive Hagar. Spurred by jealousy, fueled by anger and contempt, Sarah does not have space in her heart to allow that she and Hagar may both have happiness. Ishmael embodies Sarah's jealousy, and now she sees him as a threat to her son. And as a result, Sarah loses capacity for empathy, humility, and kindness. According to the philosopher Bertrand Russell, jealousy is one of the most potent causes of unhappiness. It's hard to imagine that Sarah went on to feel content and secure after sending Hagar and Ishmael away. What might it have been like if Sarah took joy in Ishmael, and if Hagar had a chance to share in Sarah's joy of having her own son? Elie Wiesel suggested that Sarah might have loved both Yitzchak and Ishmael. He laments, if only she could have brought them together instead of setting them apart, maybe some of today's tragedies would have been avoided. Jealousy, founded in the economy of deprivation, is the enemy of love, compassion, and justice. But there's enough joy to go around. And what if we were to join together? What if we were to find joy in each other? As the Dalai Lama says, if we derive happiness from the happiness of others, we have several billion more opportunities to be happy. So as we hear the Torah reading chanted, Rabbi G will be following along in the Torah, and you will have a chance to also see those who have the honor of an aliyah. The Torah blessings are on page 57 to 58 of your mahzor. And in the Torah blessing, the Reconstructionist chant replaces the words, Asher b'char banu mikol ha'amim, who has chosen us from all peoples or nations, with Asher kirvanu la'avodato, who has drawn us to your service. You'll be able to find the Torah reading in your mahzor on pages 58 to 63, and I invite you to follow along in either the Hebrew or English. Okay, let's begin. First aliyah, Ta'amdu, Nachum ben Shlima, Shlomo ve'Yehudit, Batya bat Avraham ve'Shana, Natan ben Nachum ve'Batya, Yaakov lev ben Nachum ve'Batya, La'aliyah Rishona. Please rise, David, Bernice, Nathan, and Kobe Cohen for the first aliyah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Lemo Yisrael, Bikdushato. Our Torah chanter for the first aliyah is Rebecca Staplewax. Looks like the Cohen family needs to be unmuted.
Okay, thank you.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirvanu la'avaduta v'natan lanu et Torah. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Vadonai pakad atzara ka'asher amar vayas Adonai l'sara ka'asher diber vatar vatelet zara l'Avraham bein litzkunav Lamoed asher diber oto Elohim vayikra Avraham et shem beno hanolad lo asher yalda lo Sarah Yitzchak vayamol Avraham et Yitzchak beno ben shmonat Yamim ka'asher siva oto Elohim.
Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. At this time, I would like to invite the members of the Your Jewish Bridge VAD team of advisors and all the people who volunteered their time and support for Your Jewish Bridge this year Please identify yourselves by waving for people who have you in grid view, and also by saying hello and introducing yourselves in the chat. And in a moment, I'm just going to get your names in the chat. I can't see if they're in there. And then I'm going to offer you this special blessing to this group.
And Rabbi Pamela, if you can hear me, just want to invite you to say maybe 2 or 3 sentences about your Jewish Bridge while we're getting the names in right now.
Sure. Your Jewish Bridge is an initiative that was launched by CBH a little over a year ago. We have support from Reconstructing Judaism and from the Federation Innovation Propel Grant. And we have been reaching out over the past year to unaffiliated Jews, people who don't have a home synagogue, providing life cycle services, rabbinic support, pastoral support, education. And I think a lot of you who are Zooming in today have found CBH through your Jewish Bridge or found your Jewish Bridge through CBH. And it has been my privilege to serve in both places, virtually and in place. And we are expanding our reach throughout Metro Atlanta. And there'll be a little bit more in the actual blessing that will identify some of the things that these folks did this year. Are we ready?
Yes.
Awesome. I wish that I could put my hands around you now, but Nishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah u'yivarech et hachevra hazot. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless this team of advisors, supporters, and volunteers of your Jewish Bridge, who have helped to launch this initiative and nurtured it in its first year. Grant them the merit to rejoice in seeing the fruits of their labor in the coming year. Source of life, bless them with the wisdom to offer good counsel and the strength to build Jewish community in Metro Atlanta and beyond. And grant them continued good health and peace, shalom, in the year ahead. And let us all say, Amen.
Ta'amdi Chana bat Eliezer ve'Yoshana le'Eliah Hashanit. Please rise. Hannah Joseph, accompanied by Jack Popper for the second Aliyah. Baruch Shenatan Torah L'Amo Yisrael B'Kedushato. Our Torah chanter for the second Aliyah is Miriam Karp.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kervanu la'avodato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Abraham ben me'at shana v'hivaled lo et Yitzchak beno v'tomer Sarah tehok asali Elohim kol hashomea etzek li v'tomer mi leil Abraham eni kavanim Sarah yadati leim miskuna v'yikta hayaled yigamel vayas Abraham nishte gadol vayom yigamel et Yitzchak vatera Sarah et ben Hagar Hamitzrit asher yalda le'Abraham nitzachek vatomer le'Abraham karesh ha'ama hazot et beina ki lo yerash ben ha'ama hazot im beni im Yitzchak vayera hadavar Me'od b'nei Avraham al adot beno. Vayomer Elohim al Abraham, Ayera Benecha al Anar Ve'alamatecha, Kol Asher Tomar Elecha Sarah Shema B'Kola Ki B'Yitzchak Yikara Lecha Zara.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chaye olam nata betuhenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. It's wonderful to see you, Hannah and Jack. Shana Tova. Miriam, thank you very much for a beautiful Torah reading. And I want to offer a Misha Berach to all of our new members. And so if you are a new member to Congregation Beit Haverim, I'm going to invite you to put your names in the chat. Anybody who has joined in the last year, we want to warmly welcome you. And as I'm thinking about it, perhaps this is your first time joining us on Zoom or on YouTube Live. And if you would like to feel yourself included in this blessing, I invite you to experience that blessing in this way. And of course, we always welcome you to join our congregation. Mishaberach avotenu vimotenu hu yivarech. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all who have joined Congregation Beit Haverim in this past year. May you feel embraced by the sense of community and nourished by its values. May your connections deepen in this new year. And may you say, like Sarah, the divine has made me rejoice as we shelter in peace together. And let us all say, Amen.
Tamdu, Chagi ben Abraham Vasara, David ben Abraham Vasara, Laliah Shlishit, please rise. Tom Willis, Crofton, Paul Marquette for the third Aliyah, Baruch Shanatan Torah Lemo Yisrael, Dikdu Shato. Our Torah chanter for the third Aliyah is Michael Yachinsky.
Baruch
atah Adonai. Oops, I'm sorry. Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kerbanu lavodato, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. וגם את בן האמה לגוי ישימנו כי זרעך הוא. וישכם אברהם בבוקר ויקח לחם וחמת מים ויתן אל הגר. שם על שכמה ואת הילד וישלחיה. ותלך ותטע במדבר באר שווה. ויכלו המים מן החמת, ותשלך את הילד תחת אחד השיחים. ותלך ותשב לה מנגד. הרחק כנתקה והקשת כי אמרה, אל אראה במות הילד. ותשב מנגד, ותישא את קולה ותן. וישמע אלוהים את קול הנער ויקרא. מלאך אלוהים אל הגר מן השמיים, ויאמר לה מלאך הגר, אל תראי, כי שמע אלוהים אל קול הנער באשר הוא שם. קומי, שאי את הנער, והחזיקי את ידך בו, כי לגוי גדול אשימנו. ויפקח אלוהים את עיניה, ותרא באר מים, ותלך, ותמלא את החמת מים, ותשקה את הנער. ויהי אלוהים את הנער וידע, וישב במדבר, ויהי רובה קשת. וישב במדבר פרן, ותיקח לו עמו אישה מארץ מצרים.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. At this time, it is my privilege and honor to offer a blessing for all people who had life cycle milestones this year, conversions, weddings, baby namings. All of y'all, please identify yourselves by waving, put your names in the chat. You can put what your milestone was that you're celebrating. And while you're doing that, I just wanted to make special mention that both Paul and Tom, who just had the Aliyah to the Torah, are included in this group as well. And they've just had another milestone moment because this was their first Aliyah to the Torah. Mazel tov. Neshaberach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'Imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah v'Yivarech v'Yisameach et ha'chevra hazot. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and bring joy to these friends who celebrated significant life cycle events this year. Let the spirit of renewal continue to rest upon them and carry them into the year ahead. Source of all life, strengthen their commitment and secure their steps as they walk their new paths of life. Bless them with good health and peace, shalom in the year ahead. And let us all say, Amen. At this time, we will pause in the Aliyot to the Torah. And we will enjoy reciting or listening to a Mishaberach, a special prayer for those who are in need of healing. At this time, I want to ask everyone to please add to the chat names of those that you're holding in your heart as we watch and listen to this special Mishaberach melody that was written by Will Robertson and is performed by the CBH Chorus.
And I will add that this is a call and response, so please join us in singing.
Lamod Yitzchak ben Abraham v'Sara le'aliyah harevi'it. Please rise. Tom Downs for the fourth aliyah. Baruch Shenatan Torah Lemo Yisrael B'Kedushato. Our Torah chanter for the fourth aliyah is Shana Cohen.
Baraku Adonai Hamvarak.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarak La'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kravanu La'avadato V'natan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayehi ba'et hahu, vayomer Avimelech, upichol tzar tzva'o, el Avraham lemor, Elohim imcha, v'chol asher ata oseh, va'adon ve'ata, hishavali v'Elohim heina, Im tishkor li ulenini ulenechdi kachesed asher asiti imcha ta'aseh imadi ve'im haaretz asher garta ba. Vayomer Avraham anochi ishavea vehochiach Avraham et Avimelech al odot be'er hamayim asher gazlu avdei Avimelech. Vayomer Avimelech lo yadati mi asa et hadavar hazeh v'gam ata lo higadeta li v'gam anochi lo shamati bilti hayom. Vayikach Avraham tzon uvakar, vayiten la'Avimelech, vayichretu shenehem berit.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Amet V'Kiyai Olam Nata B'Eloheinu Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. So I want to give a special Misha Berach here as well, and want to also acknowledge that this is Tom's first Aliyah, and so we will say a Shehechianu for this moment as well. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higyanu lazman ha'hazeh. Amen. Yesher Koach, Tom, and we welcome you in this honor. And so this particular Misha Berach, this blessing, is for our past board and our current board. So anybody who served on the 2019 board at the beginning of this Jewish year, or in this current Jewish year, the board of 2020, want to invite yourselves to identify yourselves in the chat, and we offer and extend this blessing to you. Misha Berach Avotenu V'Imotenu Hu Yevarech. May the ones who blessed our ancestors bless our members of our board for 2019 and 2020. May you feel the appreciation for your stewardship and your service. May you continue to lead with the community's common good at the fore and heart, being faithful to mission, and may it be said about you, as Avimelech said about Abraham in this Torah portion, that God is with you in all that you discern. And let us all say, Amen. And I just want to add that Tom also qualifies as a member of our board. And so we're really grateful to him and all of our board members and volunteers who have made our High Holy Days possible.
Amen. Ta'amod Yonatan Chaim ben Abraham v'Sarah L'Aliyah HaChamishi. Please rise, Theo Divini, for the 5th Aliyah. Baruch Shenatan Torah L'Amo Yisrael B'Kedushato. Our Torah chanter for the 5th Aliyah is Susan Levy. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai.
Amen.
Amen. Vayetzev Abraham et Sheva kivsot hatzon levad hen. Vayomer Avimelech el Abraham mahena Sheva kivsot ha'ele asher hitzavta levadana. Vayomer ki et Sheva kivsot Tikach miadi ba'avor tihye li leda ki chafarti et ha'ba'er azot al ken kara lamakom ha'u ba'er shava ki shtamishbeu shenehem vayichretu veri biver shava Vayakam Avimelech ufichol tzar tevao vayashuvu el eretz plishtim vayita eshel biver shava vayikra sham b'shem Adonai el olam vayagar Avraham be'eretz plishtim yamim rabim.
Amen. At this time, I'd like to offer a group blessing for the evening minyan group, which sometimes is also known as the 10-minute minyan group. And while you're identifying yourselves who you are by waving and saying hello in the chat, I'd also like to point out that Theo Divini, who just had the 5th Aliyah, was also Theo's first Aliyah to the Torah, and so we have another milestone moment. And I was remiss in that I didn't offer a Shana for Paul and Tom. So if Paul and Tom, the original Paul and Tom, not Tom Downs, but you can join in too. And Theo, I would love to offer this Shana and sing along with me at home. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'echianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Mazel tov. Okay, if the evening minyan group is ready. Neshaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'Imotenu Sarah Karacha v'Leah v'Yivarech et HaKehillah HaKedusha Hazot. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless this holy community of the evening minyan group who have created a sacred space and a dedicated time to gather, and who have welcomed everyone in need of spiritual sustenance to join them in prayer and conversation. Source of life, reward their commitment with grace, kindness, and compassion. Grant them continued success in drawing close to you and in bringing others close to you through daily prayer. Bless them with continued good health and peace. Shalom. And let us all say, Amen.
Amen. While Gayan leads us in the Hine Matovu, Rabbi G will be dressing the Torah.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, ידעי, ידעי, ידעי. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, ידעי, ידעי, ידעי. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, ידעי, ידעי, ידעי. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, ידעי, ידעי, ידעי. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
So in a moment, we're going to hear from another one of our congregants. And I just want to take a moment and reflect on some of what we just experienced during this Torah service that I feel is pretty extraordinary. I mean, one of the things that I truly believe to be a lifeline within our Jewish tradition is this opportunity to see that Judaism encourages us to be lifelong learners. And so on one hand, to recognize that we have folks who are well established in their lives, finding Jewish tradition and embracing it and going through the learning and everything that it takes and having their first aliyah. At the same time, when somebody who was graduating from high school this past year, studying with me, Theo, and taking this on so diligently at this very beginning emergence into adulthood is such a powerful thing to witness, really, that life cycle. And in many ways, the congregant that we'll hear from represents this same kind of spirit. Eliana Norton is somebody who grew up in our community, who I had the privilege of meeting almost immediately when she arrived in the United States, and have been so impacted by how she has continued to grow and embody the message of who we are as a congregation. I mentioned it a little bit last night, but I want to say it a little bit more clearly. You know, there was a moment in our congregation's life, understandably, where we were nervous about what does it mean that we've opened our doors beyond the LGBT community. And part of what I think wished, or what I hoped, is that we would be taking this amazing risk and stepping out and actually doing something that was tikkun olam, that we would be healing the world by welcoming families and welcoming straight folks, and I should say straight families and straight folks joining us in this way. Because what I said then when we didn't have many children is that our kids, the kids that grow up in this community, will have the freedom to know that whoever they are and whoever they love will have the opportunity to know that their spiritual home loves them regardless of who they are and how they identify. And we'd have just seen one child after another emerging as a young adult, speaking their authentic truth. And Eliana Norton's message is nothing less than that as well.
Boker Tov. My name is Eliana Norton. As many of you know, I have been a part of Congregation Bet Haverim since I was adopted from China at 9 months old. From that point on, CBH has been with me every step of the way, shaping the person I've become. Growing up with musical inspirations like Will and Gayan has helped me become the musician I am today, as well as such amazing leaders and activists like Rabbi Josh to guide me along the way. The CBH Community School provided me with so many great experiences, giving me the tools I needed to succeed at my bat mitzvah, and helped me create so many valuable friendships. I can't thank CBH enough for giving me such an amazing place to become my authentic self and to explore my connection with Judaism. When other synagogues or communities may not have accepted me for who I am, CBH welcomed me with open hearts and arms, and that is what makes CBH so special for me. Being able to meet other Jewish kids and adults of different races and sexual orientations created an amazing safe space for me to grow, and it has been amazing to see how the CBH family continues to expand. Admittedly, after my bat mitzvah, high school dominated my life, and I found myself more disconnected than I had ever been from the community, very rarely attending services. However, over these challenging past few months, I have found comfort once again in attending CBH's virtual services, music performances, or morning mindfulness sessions. Now, more than ever, CBH's role is essential, providing community support and fighting for the racial and social justice that we need. I know that no matter what is going on in the world or in my life, I will always have CBH to turn to, just like you will always have CBH to turn to. That is why I am asking you to consider making a donation. The recommended amount is $252, which is 14 times chai. More if you can, less if you are unable. But really, every single bit counts. I wish you all a safe and prosperous New Year. Thank you.
Yasher koach, Eliana.
Yasher koach. We're now going to turn to the Haftarah. The Haftarah portion for Rosh Hashanah is the story of Shana, who also longs for a child with deep sadness, and she appeals to Adonai to remember her. Colleen and Rich Goydel will be reading the Haftarah. Please follow along on page 69 to 70 in the Machzor, and Ariella Friedman will be reciting the Haftarah blessings. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratzah v'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'v'Moshe avdo u'v'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'hatzedek.
There was a man whose name was Elkanah, son of Jeroham, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. He had two wives, one named Hannah and the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah was childless. This man used to go up from his town every year to worship and to offer sacrifice to the source of all at Shiloh. Hophni and Phinehas, the two sons of Eli, were priests there.
One such day, Elkanah offered a sacrifice. He used to give portions to his wife, Peninnah, and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah, he would give one portion only, though Hannah was his favorite, for Adonai had closed her womb. Moreover, her rival, to make her miserable, would taunt her. This happened year after year. Every time she went up to the house of Adonai, the other would taunt her, so that she wept and would not eat. Her husband, Elkanah, said to her, "Hannah, why are you crying and why aren't you eating? Why are you so sad? Am I not more devoted to you than 10 sons?"
After they had eaten and drunk at Shiloh, Hannah rose. The priest Eli was sitting on the seal near the doorpost of the temple. In her wretchedness, she prayed to Adonai, weeping all the while. Then she made this vow: "Adonai, if you will look upon the suffering of your servant and will remember me and not forget your servant, and if you will grant your servant a male child, I will dedicate him to Adonai for all the days of his life."
As she kept on praying before Adonai, Eli watched her mouth. Now Hannah was praying in her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice could not be heard. So Eli thought she was drunk. Eli said to her, "How long will you make a drunken spectacle of yourself? Sober up." And Hannah replied, "Oh, no, sir, I am a very unhappy woman. I have drunk no wine or other strong drink, but I have been pouring out my heart to Adonai. Do not take your servant for a worthless woman. I have only been speaking all this time out of my great anguish and distress." "Then go in peace," said Eli, "and may the God of Israel grant you what you have asked of him." She answered, "You are most kind to your servant." So the woman left, and she ate and was no longer downcast. Early next morning, they bowed low before Adonai, and they went back home to Ramah. Elkanah knew his wife Hannah, and Adonai remembered her. Hannah conceived, and at the turn of the year bore a son. She named him Samuel, meaning, "I asked Adonai for him."
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol ha'olamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'oseh, ha'mdaber u'mkayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'neviim ve'al yom hazikaron hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu lechavod ultifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umvarchim otach yitbarach shemcha befi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed udvarcha emet v'kayam la'ad. Baruch atah Adonai, melech al kol haaretz, mekadesh Yisrael ve'yom hazikaron.
Amen. Yasher Koach Harela and the Godel family. At this time, I would like to invite Jackie Sherman, treasurer of the Congregation Beit Haverim Board, to share some announcements. Jackie?
Actually, I'm going to be Jackie Sherman. I'm Nancy Kreisman, and we decided to flip-flop, and I'm on the board. And it's on behalf of the board of Congregation Beit Haverim. It gives me great joy and happiness to welcome so many of people from Atlanta and across the country and even around the world to our virtual Rosh Hashanah services. We are thrilled that you have chosen to celebrate with us this new year. And as you can see and feel, being together in this community with everyone not only enriches our high holiday experience, but it anchors us in hope and love. I don't know about all of you, but I am oozing with pride and joy. And yet I have to say, I was a bit concerned about how I was going to connect to the spirit of the holidays, especially on Zoom, and not feel so boxed in. But it didn't take long for me to find my answer. The love, the virtual hugs, and the beautiful greetings we have been giving one another over Zoom seems in some ways even more powerful and beautiful than ever before. What an extraordinary high holiday experience during such an extraordinary time. What draws so many of us to CBH besides each other is that as long as Rabbi Josh has been our rabbi, he has been the curator of hope, love, and the joy of Jewish learning, and has inspired a fierce sense of social justice in our synagogue. He has led and gently supported us through so much joy and sadness. Yeah, our high holidays are unlike no others, that's for sure. And it's because we are truly a loving and caring community. What I'm most proud of, and I know our board is as well, is how our community has pulled together during this lovely COVID time. Please know that even in the face of difficulty, we know how to make it happen, don't we? As long as CBH has been around, we have always extended invitations to anyone who would like to worship with us, particularly during the high holidays as well. And we have never charged for this. I have hope and great faith that being a part of this amazing high holiday services and all the incredible programs that we are offering will help you better understand the importance of financially and personally supporting our synagogue. So I encourage you to take time to look at all that we're offering, and I guarantee there's something for everyone to stoke your spirit and help you feel nourished. So go to our CBH's website, congregationbeithaverim.org, and click on High Holiday Central to see our schedule of services and classes and all the things that we have to offer. And lastly, but very importantly, if you are not a member of our community, we would love to have you join CBH. All Jews and loved ones are welcome. Please contact us via the website at Congregation Bet Haverim. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. Thanks, Nancy. If I'd known it would have been you, I would have introduced you instead. We're coming close to the end of our Torah service. Before we conclude, I would like to invite Shelley Rose to lead the prayer for our country, which was composed by Rabbi Ayelet Cohen.
Prayer for Our Country by Rabbi Ayelet Cohen. Our God and God of our ancestors, bless this country and all who dwell within it. Help us to experience the blessings of our lives and circumstances, to be vigilant, compassionate, and brave. Strengthen us when we are afraid. Help us to channel our anger so that it motivates us to action. Help us to feel our fear so that we do not become numb. Help us to be generous with others so that we raise each other up. Help us to be humble in our fear, knowing that as vulnerable as we feel, there are those at greater risk, and that it is our holy work to stand with them. Help us to taste the sweetness of liberty, to not take for granted the freedoms won in generations past or in recent days, to heal and nourish our democracy, that it may be like a tree planted by the water, whose roots reach down to the stream. It need not fear drought when it comes. Its leaves are always green.
Amen. Just after Gayan leads us in Eitz Chaim He, which is the closing prayer of our Torah service, there'll be just a few announcements, and there'll be a brief opportunity for you all to go on grid view and greet each other when I finish with the announcements. So Gayan, if you would lead us in Eitz Chaim He.
You'll find it on page 72. Eitz Chaim He, Lamam Chazim Kimba, V'tomcheha Me'ushar, Deracheha Dachei Noam, V'chol Netivoteha Shalom. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
Yashar Kol to everyone who participated in the Torah service today. Thank you for being with us. Our next program will be Rosh Hashanah Torah study of Genesis 22, the binding of Isaac, and that'll be this evening at 7 p.m. And for those of you who asked earlier, our services tomorrow morning will begin with the shofar service at 10:15 a.m., followed by the chant service at 10:30 a.m. We conclude with the greeting and blessing that you and your loved ones will be inscribed in the book of life this year. Shana Tova Tikategu. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Yasher Chag, Rabbi G, that's what's being said in the chat. You can't see it, but
yes. Beautiful
Maybe Harry will
service.
send it to me after.
Yisher kochech.
Shana Tova, everyone.
And just one of the things, Pamela, that people were expressing is what an incredible teacher you are. A number of people mentioned how they felt they've learned a great amount from you. And so I just want to underscore that our Torah study tonight at 7 p.m., Rabbi Pamela Gottfried will be our teacher for that. So please go, and I'm sure it will be a very dynamic and interesting Torah study. Just want to thank everybody who's joined us, thanking all of our leaders. This was a lot of coordination. Effie and Shana, thank you as well. All of our laners, all of you who had aliyot, thank you for coming to receive your blessings. Want to thank everybody who is on YouTube for coming and joining us as well and binding our communities in some really interesting ways. Shana Tova, and we look forward to seeing you either tonight or tomorrow morning. Take good care, everybody.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Shana
Shana
Tova. Great job.
Shana Tova, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Good job, everybody.
Shana Tova, Lauren.
Bye, everybody.
Effie, that was wonderful.
That's your co-op,
Good luck,
Dan.
Effie.
Bye, everyone.
Yay, Effie.
Good job, Ariel.
Yay, Shana.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good job,
Lee! Oh my gosh!
Hi, Lee.
Lee! Oh,
Hello there, everybody.
He said Shana Tova.
first cancer, everyone, right there.
Wow.
There she is.
Was wonderful.
Oh, wonderful.
And last night was especially wonderful. Thank you. It's so good to see you all. Love you. Right. Rabbi Josh, of course, you're number one. Okay. Shana Tova.
Thank you, everybody.
Lee Sloan. Oh my God.
It's so good.
Oh, guys.
And Judy.
Cancers are falling over themselves.